plays at this particular level. So we'll definitely see some high quality of plays, but I don't necessarily expect to see a whole lot of gambles.
And there we go. We got some wisdom from Uncle here. This is a bootless seed until boots are found. Look at that. It looks like they won't have to find the moon pearl anywhere. It's right there.
Jawbreaker of Truth, our first of three items to unlock the Dark World. What weapon are you hoping to see on Uncle at this point in time?
Bow every time.
And we got a quick map check from Gemini. It looked like it was the green pendant up on Tower of Hera, but crystals in Eastern and Desert. And Desert looked like it was one of the big ones.
It looks like we got the semi not fun weapon, the Cane of Berna.
See, you say it's the semi not fun weapon. I say it's the most fun weapon. Cane of Berna strats all day long. Meanwhile, we have the flippers, water toes already. So we have some nice progression items with only 2 treasures opened up to this point in time in Escape.
Indeed. Early flippers are one of my favorites.
It's kind of interesting because it unlocks some areas that are a little bit out of the way. The Hobo area, the Waterfall Ferry, and of course Zora. Now the hard thing about Zora is you want to kind of route that in as best you can when you have money, and your second item in the game, you're not going to have money.
Yep, but you can never know really what's going to be on that ledge up there, and that's the hard one to sell.
Oh, Gemini looking like he's wasting a little bit of magic there, having to start and restop the cane. Remember, the blue guards do take 3 smacks with the cane sparkle really to kill them. He got 2 and then prematurely stopped. And don't you hate it when you're just a little bit premature in your performance?
Indeed. You gotta check out on that magic meter. You don't have a lot of magic to go all through these guards here. And oh, look at that. Lucky magic drop.
Absolutely. Gemini does not have the same luck. That's going to be really a big swing for Jello, but they do happen to get some bombs in this particular one.
Looks like you cannot escape the bomb start.
That's actually really nice because one of the downfalls of the Cane of Berna is it limits how much magic you can use to farm up bombs. So having those bombs already is absolutely amazing.
Yep, and if they can actually, oh, look at another awesome drop here. If they can get to the back of Escape, there is a couple of spots where they can pick up a few magic pots under, well, regular pots.
Yeah, but neither of these runners should have to get any more magic throughout this run. You only need just a little bit more magic to kill the rat that's holding the key in the escape sewer sequence. So right now they're both doing very well. Jello with a nice little head start. That Gemini, between his map check, he looks like he's a little bit behind. Plus, as well with kind of the hesitation there with the blue guard. But still, they're both making very good time for the weapon they were given at this point.
Oh yeah, at this point it's still anybody's game. I mean, we're only like 4 minutes up in the seed, so we have plenty more to commentate here.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that appeals to me personally the most about Randomizer, as we're getting back to the top floor, is that when you're in kind of a straight line, no major glitches, start to finish, everyone knows what's going on sort of situation. Like right now, this lead would seem just crazy. Like someone is clearly in the lead. But right now, we have no idea because of the gambles and the different things that can happen. There is no right or wrong answer, and that is what makes Randomizer so exciting.
I completely agree with you. Routing options is what really makes one seed from another interesting and makes it really different to commentate, whether they decide to go for some awesome tricks we don't see often, or maybe just low percent strats on some bosses can really change how you do stuff.
So the sink right now, as they're going through the sewer sequence, Julloninja looks like he's kind of tanking some more damage as they pick up the map through the escape sequence.
Yeah, they're still good on hearts. It's one of those things you kind of need to be aware of. Being only on 3 hearts at the beginning, that's like only 2 hits you can take from the ropes. The bats and the rats aren't as bad, but still, you need to be careful.
And Gemini had a very friendly rat that just kind of ran to him at that point in time. He took advantage of that. Jolo had to go out of his way a little bit, so Gemini has passed Julloninja kind of in this straightaway race. But again, it's still anyone's race at this point.
Pretty much only trash here and escape, no progression. So that's okay. I mean, you got a bit of ammo, more rupees, an extra heart. So that means there's something probably in Kakariko. And by probably, I mean most likely.
Yeah, I mean, Kakariko is just the location. I think if you think 5 in Blind's basement, 5 in the well, you got the chicken hut, you got the back of the bar, and then if you pick up anything else, you have possibly 13 to 15 items that you can possibly get in Kakariko. It is clearly the most dense location and should be your first stop. From there, routing can kind of get interesting. We haven't gotten anything else pointing us into a direction yet. Those flippers might indicate us where we might go soon.
Indeed. There may be a small routing differences here, but it looks like they're both really going to the same place. Checking triples, whatever the bush grab has, maybe Lumberjack Cave, and then Lost Woods. So all of that is pretty much done in the beginning just to get those checks out of the way.
Absolutely. So Jello is opting to skip Lumberjack Ledge. Meanwhile, Gemini is going to check. And Gemini, I think that was an armor upgrade there, is what I saw.
One of the fun safeties to see there as you're kind of locked out of one of those mail progressions.
That might be a little bit concerning, knowing that there are only 2 progression items for your armor upgrades, and one of them is locked behind Aga. You're certainly not going to go out of your way to get it, especially with both these runners being at 4-0. But that might make you a little bit nervous, especially if you're Julloninja, who seems to be more comfortable tanking a lot of damage as they're going through here. As a soldier, like, smacks him in the face.
Yeah, like you said, I'm pretty sure they can go without either mail upgrades in these seeds, but you never know. Some unfortunate hits sometimes can make you not regret your decision of not going there because let's face it, Lumberjack is pretty much, if you don't have to do it, you'll never do it. But the other one that might be a bit more available, they might make a detour for it.
Possibly. Jello doesn't find anything in Blind Sight right now. Gemini does do the tier 2 tree pull. My gosh, that's a tongue twister. And does find bombs. So Gemini and Julloninja both fully stocked up on bombs right now. Not going to have to make any purchases before they exit. Saving rupees right now will absolutely help both of the runners. They're probably trying to calculate how much they can get before making that Zora check.
Indeed, since right now getting rupees might be really just either farming up somewhere in these small farm locations or just be lucky on fighting rupees because going towards the Hoolihan room with the equipment they have right now is kind of not accessible.
Absolutely. Jello does find some interesting things, not only the mirror, but the hammer and a bottle. So a little bit more efficient in Kakariko, being able to check Sick Kid while you're here. Also, our second item to get us into the Dark World in the hammer, and then the mirror, which is just an amazing item to have in terms of routing things between Light and Dark World. So an absolutely stacked well. We have some nice direction at this point in time.
And Julo gets the absolute best trick in the game, the wall chicken.
Man, that wall chicken is so nerve-wracking because it can create kind of a soft lock situation, unfortunately. I've stopped trying to do the chicken glitch myself just out of respect for that. So Jello's checking to see what's making sick kids sick, while Gemini is setting up. And a single rupee. Money is the root of all evils, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it seems like lack of rupees making him sick. Oh, and look at that. First sword here in the tavern. How about that?
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, we still don't have a whole lot of direction in terms of where we're going to go at this point in time, but we got some good direction. The mirror is going to help them navigate the swamp area a little bit better, do Mini Moldorm, and then I imagine they'll use the flippers right away to check Hobo and Mini Moldorm.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree and say that's a pretty decent CAC. A couple of weapons, a few progression. Yeah, pretty good CAC.
Pretty decent Kakariko. It's not a stacked Rico, it's not a Lackarico, it's just kind of a mediocre Rico.
Now we're seeing here Jullo going on the south side of Hyrule here. It's a pretty standard play, I should say, going for the dam and then for mini Moldorms. That's what most people do, just because there's still a good number of items to check around here, all bunched up together, so might as well get them out of the way.
Yeah, the real check is, there's Cape. That's not something you want to find in this first part of the world. Cape could start pointing us towards an Aghanim required seed, even though they have 2 of the 3 items. If there's no lift upgrade in these Sphere 1 locations or anything they have access to, we might start pointing towards an Aga required. So that's got to make them a little bit nervous.
It's still fine though, as long as they do not find I can't find the word anymore. Help me down, Vitasia.
Lamp. A lamp.
Exactly. Thank you very much. That thing that does fire just in front of you. Words.
It's okay. Words can be hard sometimes. That's fine. There's another bottle. Let's say a piece of heart, more money, and oh man, Mini Moldorm was absolutely
Useless.
yeah, we'll go with useless. I'm trying to diversify my words at this point in time. I would say not what they were looking for.
Yeah, that's not bad. It looks like Jullo is opting to go on the water route going forward. That's a nice trip in the water. Can evade the crabs for a bit.
Yeah, it's worth noting that swimming is actually a little bit faster if you're good at swimming, if you have a lot of control. Otherwise, if you have some issues, it would actually be better to do the walking strat like Gemini is doing at this point.
Jullo takes one hit from the crabs, and you see exactly why you don't want to mingle with them. 2 hearts damage on a hit? No, sir.
Still nothing necessarily pointing in our direction. Both runners are checking the vanilla ice rod cave though, so I imagine they'll be popping out here checking Hobo. That Kate probably scared both of them, and they're going to be checking everything to hope to point them away from Aghanim at this point in time. So Gemini did the save and quit strat, which is, I think, a little bit faster. Sees the 10 bomb pack on Lake Hylia Island, so gets a little bit of knowledge that Jello will have to route kind of around to get that. But we will get our quick hobo check here. And there's our glove. I think Jello and Gemini are both going to be very, very happy to see that. That does unlock our Dark World access and gives us access to the east section of Dark World. That takes us from an Aghanim index of high to nothing.
Exactly, because we will not be seeing Aga for until the end of the seed here. Not in Hyrule Castle, at least.
No, we have our first real route divergence, though. It looks like Gemini is going to go ahead and go up and check at least what's on the waterfall ferry and likely to see what's on the ledge. Gemini does not have the money, unfortunately, to check Zora. Jello is opting to save that, maybe to loop that in with the catfish check. We do already have the mirror to route those two together. So Jello's going to be checking Hype Cave. So chat, get your guesses in. Is it going to be a Hype Cave, a Dud Cave, a Love Cave, a Rupee Cave, whatever cave? Get your guesses in. We're open-ended.
How about a medallion cave?
I almost spit my beer out when you said that. Don't do that. All right, so we have a heart container, a mushroom, 10 arrows, 5 arrow capacity upgrade, rupee. So, hype index yet to be determined.
Yeah, see you soon in the next episode of What Does That Mushroom Has?
I mean, that's interesting. That will incentivize Jello to kind of do this routing up here to check the pyramid and then mirror over to check the mushroom and then possibly check catfish and mirror over so you can route all of that together. So it will be a slightly more efficient check, but it will pull Jello into a very specific direction. Gemini, meanwhile, finds some value there in the back of Sahasrara, finds both the Master Sword and the Ice Rod.
Yeah, that's a rod I don't like to see early game.
Well, and we don't even have a map check in the Dark World, so we don't know if Turtle Rock is going to be required or not. Now, based on Gemini's early map check in the Light World, I imagine we're going to get a pretty quick Dark World map check here as well. So we'll see, I think, shortly what we're looking at. And it's going to be the pendants are going to be in Pod and Swamp. So it's a technically mirror not required, but we have the mirror early. That might point towards some early mirror locations, but Turtle Rock is required, so seeing that Ice Rod might actually be good for Gemini.
Yeah, at least if it's a crystal dungeon and you get it early, you have to kind of tell yourself that you don't have to look for it. So yeah, like you said, pretty good.
Now, one thing that is kind of interesting is a lot of runners we will see hold on to the mushroom if they possibly can. They'll do a save and quit before they come over here to turn the mushroom in. So if it's not, they would be able to set up the mushroom glitch or the fake powder, but which with the value, so that takes Hype Cave value from like a 2 to like a 5 or 6 with that bow turn in.
I'd give it a rating of like 11 out of 10. Bow is like my favorite weapon, so getting that out of the way, it's like, oh look, you can snipe everything from a range now without any troubles. You have some pretty good firepower, and of course, you kind of need it too for Eastern and possibly Pod. You don't know yet.
Drugs for weaponry. I really thought those deals only went down in Detroit. And Gemini finding the other armor upgrade, Blue Mail, in that K45 location. That's going to be the only armor upgrade we get, but you might be pretty happy to see that.
Yes, that's the only one they're going to get if they get it. And Gemini opted to do get it. I'd say it's a pretty good idea, even though this seed has been very hardy so far. You never know how bad luck can turn on you.
Meanwhile, Gemini is doing the digging game over here, getting blue rupees kind of more than he really would have liked to see. Hopefully something, please, soon. Stop it. Oh, but half magic.
Yeah, half magic before going in Turtle Rock and Skull Woods is a pretty nice gift.
Yeah, now Gemini is going to be able to route in, and he's going to head on up and come into the Dark World from the Village of Outcast side. Jello is on his way over there. The difference being Jello kind of banked on something being on that east side of Dark World. He got the bow, which is absolutely nice. Meanwhile, Gemini got the Master Sword, he got the Ice Rod. So, I mean, which loadout would you rather have if you were these two runners?
I'd say for how early on the seed is, probably Gemini right now. If you're a bit more on the inexperienced side, but if you're pretty confident in your skills, I'd say Jullo has more access to different things.
You're just saying that because he has the bow, aren't you?
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay. So Jello is actually doing, I misspoke, he's actually doing a sequence break to go up to Death Mountain at this point in time. Now, with this sequence break, he'll have his access to all of the east side of Death Mountain. We know, well, it depends. If he finds the lamp or the flute here, he'll kind of have some direction in terms of where the other is going to be. But he'll be able to do, Green Pendant Turtle Rock. He'll be able to go over and do East Death Mountain itself, which has 8 locations. And if he finds the Power Glove or the Titansmith up here, he'll be able to go ahead and get at least a couple locations in the Dark World as well. So interesting kind of route divergence here by Jello.
Ooh, and first medallion found inside a Spectacle Rock here. We have a Bombos.
That could be important. Bombos, we don't have an idea of what's Misery Mire or Turtle Rock, but without a Fire Rod right now, we don't know if that Bombos is going to end up being required in terms of our fire access to get into Ice Palace. So, absolutely a worthwhile pickup.
Indeed. It is by far, I would say by far, the more useful medallion. With Ether being like second, a bit behind, and nobody loves Quake. Nobody. But here we see Gemini already inside of Thieves Town, trying to find some kind of advantage here. So far, finds only a big key, and well, look at that, fire shield. That is some kind of advantage. It's a useful one given the dungeon, but
yeah, if you have to get the fire shield, getting it in Thieves Town, where most of the fireballs come flying at your face, I'll take it. 4 items in Thieves Town total. We got one of them. We'll absolutely be able to clear everything. We got the hammer, so we're not gonna worry about getting locked out. There's our second item in Thieves Town. Plus, it's a crystal. I don't see any reason not to go ahead and do this while you're here.
Yeah, completely agree with you. It's Thieves Town is often a dungeon you see early on in these seeds. Whether it's a crystal or not, don't really matter, I'd say, in general.
Yeah, because Blind himself will take the same amount of damage regardless of what weapon you have. 9 hits, 3 per head, and you're done. Fighter Sword or Butter Sword. It's really attractive to do for a lot of runners, kind of despite whatever weaponry or loadout you have. So it becomes attractive to do early. And because it has 4 items in it eventually to get through, it just makes it really easy, and you can convince yourself to do it early on in the seed.
Yep. The only thing that could really impair your way inside of this dungeon is the hellway that Gemini just went through, and blind, of course, given how many safeties you got or not. And given that he both has the fire shield and the cane of burner and half magic, it's a free boss fight, by all means.
I imagine Gemini will use traditional sword strats just because you don't want to lag the game out if you can avoid it. Lag strats would be easier, but they would also add a few seconds to your total boss fight if you do happen to know the optimized way to beat blind. If not, then absolutely use Burna all day.
Yeah, Blind is one of those bosses that the pattern is always the same when the fight begins. So if you can position yourself correctly and just go through the fight pretty much like it's supposed to be, it's gonna be an easy fight every time. But you do need to learn these patterns. And on the other side here, Julo is facing the boss that has no pattern at all, the Moldorm.
Finding the map, I'm pretty sure Jello has to go to the basement to get the last item. I don't think I saw the second item anywhere.
Yep, and that basement is not going to be checked right now. At least I hope so, because he does not have a fire source for that.
Oh, that's unfortunate for Jello. Oh, I mean that's one of the risks that you take when you do Tower of Hera without a fire source. There could be an item in the basement, and it could be fire locked.
Here's hoping it's not on this side of the mountain. That'd be a bit rude.
You say rude, I say hilarious. Oh, speaking of hilarious, Jello, you should not swipe down and put the dead rock like right where you need to jump. Just saying. Gemini, I didn't see what he ended up getting off. I mean, other than a crystal, of course, off Thieves Town, but I'm going to trust in our tracker that it is nothing important.
Now that I got my breath back, yes, indeed, there was nothing much more interesting inside of Thieves Town. A bit of a shame, but you know, it's progress since it's a crystal.
So Jello is now getting to kind of the meaty portion of Death Mountain. We'll have 2 and then 5 treasure chests here. Gemini, meanwhile, is taking a trek into Skull Woods. Interesting, Jello really hasn't touched Dark World as of yet. Oh boy. We have ourselves another fetch quest, and you know, the first one turned out so well. Why not?
Oh, definitely. I mean, given how the bow was in the first one, how about a fire rod in the second one?
That might be too much for me to handle. I might have to sing if that's the case. Jello does find the ether and another sword upgrade, so that's nice. And then a bunch more rupees, so he saves and quits. We'll see where he ends up going now.
Looks like Gemini did get a bit unlucky here. He got grabbed by the hand. But it looks like his second trip might be a good one. Yeah.
Yep, looks like he's doing good so far for this second trip. All for a key. That's nice.
Yeah, let's go with nice. The other words aren't meant for the stream.
Yeah. I always think back to anyone who has seen the old Mel Brooks movie History of the World Part 1. I always think back to the Emperor scene where he says, "It's nice. It's nice. Not thrilling, but nice." Oh! Well, hello there. So I guess that cape was absolutely required.
And Gemini flips a sign at the bird, giving him the exact momentum he needs to traverse this cave and go pick up his strength upgrade. Now this is going to open up the seed even more.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of in the perfect place in the world to go ahead and really take advantage of this too. It kind of opens up routing options when you're trying to navigate around this west side of the Dark World. Jello, taking his first trip into Skullwoods, doesn't necessarily find anything here. We'll see what Gemini ends up finding over here at the graveyard ledge, though.
Gonna go ahead and say a big 20.
Why are you not an optimist, my friend? It's got to be Fire Rod, right? I'm gonna guess everything is the Fire Rod until we get the Fire Rod.
This is not the red item you were looking for.
No, it is not. That's okay.
Now, given the equipment they have right now, I'd say, what is the dungeon you would go next, Ritasia?
Nothing is attractive at this point in time. I think at this point, I might be looking at a dip into Palace of Darkness, at least from a logic perspective. You can get the bow if you turn in the mushroom. You have the hammer. So you're hoping to find the lamps somewhere in there before the dark rooms. And it has kind of the heaviest chest density at this point in time. So that's where I would probably end up going.
Yeah, when Gemini actually finds his bow on the mushroom, I would say that would be his best play. But for Jolo, who I'm maybe Dark World. Oh, I flip that over, okay? Julo, once he finds out there's nothing right here in Skull Woods, going inside Palace of Darkness would be his best bet. But Gemini, the way he's going, he can do all of Dark World Death Mountain, so that might be something. Of course, it is sequence broke, but it's still a bunch of items he can find here.
It's true, and Gemini on his way to go ahead and do this. It is worth noting that if Gemini does complete Tower of Hera, much like Jello did, he'll be able to turn in that green pendant to see what Sahasrara has for us as well. That mirror makes routing in that general area much easier. Jello also hasn't been over to the eastern area at all. Gemini did take a dip into Sahasrara's closet. It's where he found his master sword. Gemini going to be well equipped with the tempered here shortly.
Other than that, I would say that this is looking like to be a bit more overworld friendly for locations of items, just because there's so many things that are kind of locked and maybe kind of not locked. Like Ice Palace right now is in logic, so yeah.
Ugh. Ice Palace. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. Ice Palace is completely in logic. Depending on key placement, if we might need the hook shot, and doing it without the Cane of Samaria. Oh my goodness, that's a possibility, and that might be an interesting gamble. Like, do you do Ice Palace, which is completely in logic, or do you do Palace of Darkness, which is also completely mostly in logic with its dark rooms?
Yeah, it's a difficult choice at this point. At this point, it all depends really if they are interested in doing maybe dark rooms or possibly hard rooms, I would say, given their equipment.
And Gemini making an interesting gamble. Now, we happen to know that nothing is in Tower of Hera. But Tower of Hera, 2 items, relatively quick dungeon, plus the green pendant. Gemini is opting to skip that in order to come over here, open up Turtle Rock, do Dark Death Mountain, and also do the Light World Death Mountain. So, kind of a gamble. If Jello does end up finding something, this might be big if he finds something at Sahasrara.
You know, I'm really liking the way Gemini is routing this because he probably knows that right now there's a chance that something is locked inside Tower of Hera from not having any light source. So he will need to find something, either a lamp or a fire rod, to do Hera basement. And doing it this way around, he might find it before going in Tower of Hera.
Oh, that might be interesting. I mean, that's certainly logic that I can get behind. Is saying I know Hera has a possibility of being firelocked, So we're going to check Super Bunny. We can't get anything in Hookshot Cave, unfortunately, so it's only 2 extra items. But we'll see what we find here. Nope. Truck test, though.
Would have been fun to find the boots right here, but looks like this seed is no fun allowed.
No, not at all, unfortunately. So Gemini now going to be doing his walk of shame around the Spiral Cave, and then checking Light Death Mountain. We'll see if he goes over Does Hera, or if he does Spike Cave, which is absolutely in logic. We have both invincibility items and the hammer, so that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, and they won't have any trouble getting to the end of the cave with half magic too. And now we're possibly going to see what's on the... Yeah, Gemini opts to do what we already know here is going to be another sword for him, and the Ether Medallion, which are both really great prizes.
Absolutely. And we still haven't seen what's in behind that shovel yet, have we?
Yeah, that's one other location that we can see it. Of course, Jullo hasn't been in that part of the world at all, so it's a bit more fruitful for him once he does get there.
The seed, if something ends up being in the shovel, like something significant ends up being in the shovel spot, I might have to sing. I'm just going to warn everyone ahead of time, because we've already had one fetch quest end up with significant progression in the mushroom leading to the bow. So if the shovel leads to something, I might break out into song.
Now, Gemini, I think he's looking for things to do in Village of Outcasts with his newfound Titans.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad idea, because he can do kind of the Jeremiah loop at this point in time. Go down, pick up Jeremiah, turn him in, get the purple chest, do hammer pegs, take that down to Swamp Palace and kind of route that in. He's already done Hype Cave, but at least he'll be down to that south portion, and maybe he'll go up to Palace of Darkness at that point.
Now, I've got to say, Jullo has been going through this whole cave with all of this dungeon with like one heart. And I've been on the edge of my seat a bit.
A little bit, but he does get that clutch heart at that point in time. So just in time for Blind herself. I mean, we don't know if he's just cross-dressing or if Blind actually identifies as a woman more. So it's an interesting question worth... we don't have to discuss. We just have to accept Blind for her choices.
It's Kata the boss. Unfortunately, Jeremiah only rewards us with a big 20, which is not really the reward we're looking for either. Gemini decides to go forward with the purple chest, seeing that, it's right there. Might as well get it over with and bring it back to its master. here it is. We'll get to see if Vitasia gets to sing or not.
No, here we go. Nope.
Not today. Don't worry, guys. We still have a couple of more places we could have progression from these fetch quests.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's lots to still do at this point in time. I mean, Gemini is getting ready to check the purple chest right now. We'll have Palace of Darkness here directly. Jello looks like we'll be doing the Jeremiah loop here directly himself.
Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of half expecting Gemini to go towards Zora or Palace of Darkness. Yeah, those are.
I was gonna say, as soon as he as soon as she said something, he turned northward. Don't you hate it when that happens?
Yeah, it's just these runners, man. They kind of you kind of think that maybe they have some kind of sixth sense about what commentators are saying.
So Gemini looks like he's going to be doing the pyramid and catfish area. Gemini will be able to go ahead and check Zora, though. Neither runners, when they did their first check up into the Zora area, were able to check Zora because of the lack of rupees. Gemini now has plenty, and we'll be able to route catfish in with that. And doesn't have to pick up the 50 rupees that Jello did earlier. So both these runners are kind of cleaning up other areas that we've already seen. This is a great time to kind of give a shout out while we're still thinking about it to our wonderful tracker Sinhei doing our tracking for us, letting us focus on the race and then double check. Without our trackers, I think we would be lost as commentators. So thank you, Sinhei. Also, Naylene doing our restream. Thank you so much, Naylene. Without which we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So, thank you guys so much.
Indeed. I'm also going to add that there's a lot of people doing these races in the tournament because there's so many racers in this tournament. Like 500 and something. I don't know the number anymore. Said it too many times. So I'm going to say that, yeah, there's a lot of races to watch. So if you guys want to see more, don't forget to give a follow to all these Link to the Past Randomizer channels and also the Speed Gaming channels for a lot more.
Absolutely. We have more races than we care to do. Now, a quick programming note, and I think it's prudent to talk about this at least right now. Week 6 for the tournament. If you guys do not know, it has not been mentioned yet. I believe week 6 for the tournament is going to be spread out over 2 weeks just because of some, I think, RPG limit break is going on, and we have Mother's Day that's going on, and kind of lots of things going on in the next couple weeks. Week 6 is going to be spread out over 2 weeks. What's that mean for you guys? Probably nothing, because that just means we'll be able to restream more of week 6. There are so many races that don't actually get a chance to get restreamed that we're going to still try to be here for as many races as we can. But week 6 itself is spread out over 2 weeks.
And now we've seen a couple of more locations along the way. Looks like Zora had only a slow meringue, while Sashala's brother in the desert only had a couple of arrow upgrade.
And both runners looking like they're going over here to the eastern area. We'll see if they just dive eastern or end up. Looks like Gemini is at least going to go into the dark world in this area. We'll see what Jello decides to do.
I mean, that's a pretty great idea. Myself, I think I would have maybe gotten inside the dark world and mirrored back to the light world to do this dungeon first. But I can understand the routing too, especially
Yeah,
for Jullo, since he hasn't been to Sashala yet.
I mean that's fair, absolutely. Did Jello check to see what was on Sahasrara at all? And did we?
Yeah, he got a piece of art.
A little bit of love. Okay. So far, Tower of Hera hasn't been anything, but there's still that basement item that's got to be itching them. Still no fire source to be able to even check that though, which is interesting. They did. Jello did sequence break to get up there. Gemini also sequence break to get everything over on Death Mountain, but I don't think we actually got anything other than the shovel up on Death Mountain, which led to Bupkis.
Yeah, the other only kind of interesting item they got up there is the Bombos. Because Bombos kind of opens up Ice Palace, but it is out of logic. So my thinking of all of this is Lamp is very early.
So if you're both of these runners right now, put yourself in each one of their shoes. You made the early play up to Death Mountain. They both sequence broke, and it didn't pay off. Do you immediately presume that you're behind?
Yes. But more importantly, I would say I presume that the Swamp Palace has something.
Ugh. Boo. Pendant Swamp Palace has something. And then we're hook shotless. Boo.
Yeah, it's boo, but you kind of see my logic here, right?
No, I absolutely see your logic, and I'm still booing it.
All right. Then I'm fine with it.
It is worth noting, if we don't happen to find the hook shot is one of those items that is logically required in order to beat the game because of that gap between Moldorm 2 and the treasure chest that spawns after that particular item. So it's entirely possible that we're not going to find the hook shot anywhere in the game until maybe Ganon's Tower, which would be absolutely horrible and hilarious all at the same time. Because do you go up to Ganon's Tower and just keep searching for the hook shot? Do you climb all the way up and think the hook shot is on your way up, and is it not? And Gemini, interestingly, does find the fire rod in past a dark room.
A sequence broke fire rod. Oh my. Are we even going to see the lamp in this seed?
And yes, to clear up in chat, yes, we can absolutely have hookshot in Ganon's Tower because Swamp Palace is a pendant. We can absolutely have that. It's totally a thing.
What an interesting seed so far, I gotta say. I'm impressed.
Uh, you say interesting, I say horrible, something that I would never want to play.
And yet, I'm sure you had worse.
Yes, I have. And anyone who's followed me absolutely does know I've had worse. But that's neither here nor there. Gemini is on Armos Knights now. And there's the hook shot. What?
What is this seed? Stop giving items, seed. I mean, yay, hookshot.
Stop getting items that are sequence broken because we don't have the lamp yet, Seed.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot for all of those items because, wow, Eastern having both Fire Rod and Hookshot, that could have changed a lot of routing, depending on if they decide to go in Eastern or this early or not.
Yeah, I just really want to know where exactly this lamp is. 'Cause I'm one of those runners that I try not to do any sequence breaks if I can avoid it, simply because I like following the logic. But as we've seen in version 29, being able to do dark rooms is absolutely a significant advantage when it comes to some logic.
Yeah, I generally agree with you, given that most of the time I want to do in logic stuff too. But yeah, I understand why they did Eastern. Eastern is one of those easily out of logic places because the dark room in there are not very too difficult. Now, looks like Gemini is continuing on his quest of just clearing dungeons, which is a great idea. Just don't expect to find a lamp in any of those dungeons.
Well, the nice thing, I think, if you're runners of this caliber, both Gemini and Jillo are very capable runners at this point in time in their careers. If lamp is your go mode item, you go mode without the lamp. I mean, you just kind of keep going. We are looking right now. We haven't Turtle Rock. I can't quite make out. I think looks like Bombos. But yeah, we're looking for what the flute and the cane of Samaria, and that's it for go mode.
Most likely, we still have to see if those darn boots are useful or not. That and the medallions, of course. We still don't know what is locking Mire.
So Gemini just did something interesting there. He took an intentional hit so that he would not have sword beams coming in here to the Mothula fight. Mothula has some interesting mechanics where if you take like it just wouldn't do any damage if you took the hit with the sword beams. So that made that Mothula fight way too easy. Jello, in the meantime, is coming over here to Ice Palace, kind of following what the logic is giving him right now. Although, now that I think about it, it's not in logic because both the Bombos tablet and the Fire Rod were locked behind dark rooms, weren't they?
Well, Bombos itself was locked in Spectacle Rock, which technically they don't have access to logically because no flute and no lamp. So it's still sequence broken.
Yeah. So it's still sequence broken at this point in time. As soon as you find lamp, so you don't expect to find lamp here. Although if you find the flute here, then you'll absolutely know that that was our way up Death Mountain. So that, I mean, that could be interesting knowledge at that point in time.
I'm still thinking it has to be Swamp.
Swamp or Pod? We still haven't dipped into Pod yet.
Yeah, that's true. And given that where the hammer and bow locations were, Pod is definitely one of those locations it could be in. Of course, the dark rooms aren't technically accessible without the lamp, but you know.
But there's still tons of treasures before that. Jello struggling a little bit here with this bomb jump. Gemini does find the second item. He had 50 rupees and just a piece of heart in Skull Woods. So saving and quitting. We'll see where he goes from here. Jello is skipping the bomb jump. It came to a point where he was out of hearts, actually. That's not good for his routing at this point in time because that makes this particular routing of Ice Palace just excruciating.
Yeah, now he's gonna go into slow mode for Ice Palace. That means opening up everything and even more. Because without that good old Cane of Samaria, you're gonna be a bit locked in the end there.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate. And one of the reasons why Ice Palace was really one of the most disliked dungeons, I think, in the vanilla game, but that bomb jump by itself just makes it So much nicer.
Hey, there's already a bit of a reward in there.
Yeah, silvers. I mean, and you have the bow, so that's good. It's you're absolutely going to see Gemini pick those up, unless he's in go mode for whatever reason. By the time he goes to Ice Palace,
Yeah, silvers definitely helps in clearing bosses all over the place. I mean, most of these bosses only take one arrow on each of them, except Vitreous, who has to be special and takes two, and Ganon, who's extra special and takes four.
all right. So Gemini is dipping into Palace of Darkness, and I can't help but feel, but there's the Cane of Samaria in the very first treasure chest. So that's one of our two go mode items right now for Gemini. It does indicate that this is bow locked, but we got that bow relatively early. Hype Cave Mushroom to Witch bow. So we are missing a flute really for go mode. I mean, the lamp technically yes, because lamp is required for those, but I still get the feeling lamp is going to be here.
Ever so optimistic. I'm gonna say swamp because that's the fun part of it. And in the meanwhile, that one chest nobody wants to talk about in Ice Palace has nothing but bombs in it.
Jello kind of struggling here through Ice Palace. It looks like he may not necessarily be used to doing Ice Palace without things like boots or whatnot. Jello, where are you going, Jello?
Yeah, Jello is about to have a reality check here.
And I think maybe he realizes it. It's like, oh yeah, I should leave.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate given that now we know where that Cane of Samaria is. But at least you kind of think it's in the realm of possibility as being his next location. Is it me or is Gemini just putting on bombs?
He might be. I can definitely see both these runners feeling like they're behind, given the pathing they've gone. Gemini is actually in excellent shape right now, though.
And an extra bottle. How about them safeties?
So many safeties. So many safeties. Jello is entering Dark World again from the Village of Outcasts area. With that fire rod, will probably clear Skull Woods. But again, this is a sequence break because the fire rod is out of logic right now behind that dark room. I'm thinking the lamp is going to be up here in the Terrapin room.
I can't approve of this choice, but it is a realm of possibility.
Nope.
Now, I never kind of remember, is this Dark Room down here in logic if you have Fire Rod?
No. Any dark room is out of logic if you do not have the lamp. Even the easy ones like this one.
I was just checking because, because of those lamp spots.
No, I think it's fair to wonder about that because of the lamp spots. All right, what's here? What's in the harmless hellway? Oh, just a key. Oh my god. Where's this lamp?
It's in Latin Swamp. Has to be. Either that or Swamp locks whatever wherever a lamp is. Something like boots and swamp or something.
I will concede it might be in swamp, but it cannot be in the second half of swamp because of hookshot.
Oh yeah, that I completely agree with you. And by with you, I mean logic. Yeah.
Yeah, logically, I mean, yeah, it could be there. I guess, this was more wishful thinking than anything. Jello also with the quick Mothula kills. What's with Mothula cooperating with everyone but me when I do the fight?
Oh, don't worry. I'm pretty sure you're not the only one. And it looks like Gemini found his way to the big chest, but did not find what he was looking for in there. I mean, I didn't see anything valuable or anything at all, really.
No, and knowing that Pod is a worthless pendant, you leave, and Gemini might be making the play that you're wanting him to. No, he's not. He's not. Where are you going, Gemini? Is he making
Oh,
the Agina check? Because
yes. It's kind of out of the way, but I can understand wanting to check it by the hour mark. Kind of saying to yourself, if it's there, oh god, I'm behind. If it's not, fine.
yeah, I think I mean that's probably what confuses me most about this check is that you have some other locations that you can check. This is more of like if you've gambled that nothing is here up to this point in time, checking this now is just hedging your bet. Like full commit. Nothing's in Agina. Don't check it.
Yeah, and we already know there's nothing here. Ta-da. Yeah, you need to commit, Gemini. Go to swamp. Go to swamp. That's the answer. I'm sure of it. I feel it in my bones.
Here's the problem. It looks like he's going to go maybe to Turtle Rock or Hookshot Cave as well, because he has the hookshot now. He's not going to find the lamp, but I think he might just be discounting lamp logic at this point in time. Just saying, all right, we're going up here and we're going to do the thing.
Yeah, I think at this point he just doesn't care about the lamp anymore. Given that we've seen him go through the pod dark rooms without any trouble, I'm kind of thinking that Misery Mire dark rooms aren't that much of a trouble either.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be okay. Gemini, it looks like he mispushed the block there, unfortunately. Jello might be making the same play.
Yeah, that looks like exactly the same play. I mean, they're not bad plays, like we said, but it's still out of logic, which is fine, I guess. Got to do something to progress the seed. Am I right? So now we got him going towards Turtle Rock and Hookshot Cave, which might find them a couple of useful items. And the more go mode items they find, the more indication they kind of find where the lamp is. And Hookshot Cave is completely useless. How about that? Now I'm thinking Durrock might have something useful in it, but yeah, okay. Let's say if something is useful on Turok, we always know where it is. It's always on that first chest on the left or like on Laser Bridge, because that's how Turok likes it. Trolly and that word I can't say. Yeah, this first location here had a big key on it, which is always a welcome sight. Yes, that word. Thank you.
All right, so Gemini, so far, doesn't look like a whole lot. At least not what he's looking for here in Turtle Rock.
Indeed, that is Turtle Rock. And yeah, so far a big key, 2 small keys, lots of keys, but not really a key progression item.
Oh, Jullo may be making the play into Swamp Palace, realizing that logically this might be the play that he's looking for. It's bold. I like it. Let's see if it works.
Man, it has to work. That's my gamble. Gotta prove me right. Commentator's blessing and all.
I mean, I'm 1-3, so I can't really say like anything I would gamble is probably going to be wrong.
But yeah, Swamp is a pretty good place to check for items right now, or that, or I don't know. I'm really out of locations to really justify looking other than Swamp for the lamp.
Yeah, I mean, Swamp. I think it's absolutely got to be here. We've checked everywhere else, which is, luckily these runners ended up getting this seed because if it was someone who can't do dark rooms, then these. I mean, this would be probably one of the world's worst seeds ever.
Now, okay, that first chest in Swamp is not the lamp, but it's a welcome sight, being the big key. So that's one less detour. And given that this is already a pendant swamp, you don't really want to look very far in it.
You don't want to look too far in it, no. But the other thing is that flute could be there as well.
Indeed, now that they have the hook shot that's kind of out of sequence, they can go and complete swamp if they want to. And if they do find the flute, or let's say boots or book or whatever that could be useful in the long run, that would mean that swamp was double dip required, and that is absolutely awful.
Yeah, just disgusting. Still a couple item location checks possible for Jillo.
Now, Mimic Cave only offering up a big 20 and still nothing in swamp so far. It's being a bit picky. Look at that! Swamp was required.
Swamp required for the flute, and he's noping out. So Jello is thinking, that's go mode. I can do the rest without it.
Almost go mode. He still needs to find his Samaria. It's no mode for sure.
Oh, okay, yeah, he doesn't have Samaria, which is interesting because he's doing that without Samaria. He's leaving the left side entirely without Samaria.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I like his gamble on his part, but it's a hard gamble to sell. Now we're about to see Gemini going inside the dark room of Turtle Rock, which is definitely not a fun one. If you don't know what you're doing, you're just constantly going into fire bars.
I mean, I think both of these runners would be confident in their dark rooms. Turtle Rock is not a fun one per se, but the fire bars do give you some hint in terms of where you need to go. The real trick is going to be Misery Mire, because that is a rough dark room.
There we have it, the first bird of the word, the seed. Gemini open up chests on Laser Bridge will not find anything useful here. I can guarantee you that.
No. And the unfortunate thing is that Jillo is going ahead and doing the mire area where he's not going to find the cane here. I mean, logically it could be here, but he's avoiding that pendant dip into pod like the plague. We know that's where the cane is. He's going to eventually have to make his way over there. So this is nothing but a gigantic waste of time.
Now, Gemini is going into the Trihex fight without too many hearts, so we need to see how he fares in it. It's not a hard one given the equipment he has, but still need to be a bit careful.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Jello goes over here to Desert. We'll see very quickly if Desert ends up being boots locked. This is one of the 5/6 crystals, so if this is boots locked, we can rescind no mode very quickly here.
And it is not boots locked, it is burrito locked.
I could go for a burrito right now.
I wish I could. And while we're talking about burritos here, Gemini is already done with Trinex. How about that?
Absolutely textbook Trinex fight there. Really, I mean, he took one hit, but that's all he could really give, but still manages to get him down very quickly. Very nice fight by Gemini.
And I believe Jullo found some bombs in a chest here, meaning there's only one treasure left inside of all of Desert here. And if that big chest doesn't have anything, he'll have to come. Well, no, he won't have to come back because this is not boost lock. I just ignore what I've said in the last 15 seconds.
And more bombs. So Jello would eventually have had to come back in here anyway. He will probably go over here to do land bolus. I know optimal routing there says once you mirror back over to this side, you go ahead and kill the boss, because if there's the item on the boss, you can just completely skip going back for that chest. So not necessarily optimal, but it ended up being necessary for Jello there. Meanwhile, Gemini looks like he is going to be making the play over to Swamp Palace, which we know is going to be the right play once he gets that flute. I mean, I can't imagine he'll keep searching for the lamp, will he?
At this point, I can't really, no, not a chance. But will he be looking for maybe something else, given that he doesn't know if Desert is boots locked or not?
That's true. He could still be looking. He doesn't know if Desert is boots locked. He hasn't found Silvers yet, which I'm sure would be a nice find for him as well. Interesting. We'll see what his decision ends up being.
Jullo here took great shots at Landmo with his fire rod, taking down all 3 snake serpents of sorts without any troubles, and gets rewarded with a 5/6 crystal. And it looks like he's unfortunately making the decision of maybe going inside Mire, but first checking the checkerboard cave, which really is a great idea. I think that's a bit too far. Yeah, you'll end up on that rock.
Mirror bonks are the worst.
Slowest bonks of all. You could see the hesitation on Gemini's screen there. He picked up that flute and that big chest and didn't know what to do next with that information. Decides to go activate it. It's a pretty good idea, I would say. My guess is Lamp is on left side swamp, and nobody wants to go there. Other than that, this seed has been, like I said earlier, interesting in its item placement, but it's pretty much done on all its, well, most of its secrets.
Yeah, I think the most difficult part about this seed is the seed expectations for doing dark rooms, or for not doing dark rooms. Like this seed really would have pulled you around to various locations, had you double dip a couple dungeons if you did not know your dark rooms. If you did, it ended up being relatively straightforward, all things said.
Indeed. Like right now, the only thing really that's left for going through all of this most normally, I would say, is to find the Kano Samara for Jullo, which is inside of Palace of Darkness, the very first chest. Gemini is pretty much going to tell himself that once he sees what's on the torch here, he will be able to just go mode all of these dungeons pretty easily, which unfortunately might not giving the silvers that Jullo found in Ice Palace.
Yeah, but when you have go mode and you already have tempered, like you might check a few treasure chests if you have the Master Sword, hoping for tempered or silvers. But when you have tempered, I think you just go for it at that point in time and say, okay, if I have to do silverless, I have to do silverless. But the time loss isn't that great compared to how many treasure chests I would check.
Yeah, that's a very good and appropriate reaction to that. I would probably do the same thing. Now, the only real mystery after that will be where the heck is that big key in Ganon's Tower? We'll see a bit later about that. Still not the time, as there's plenty of dungeons left for both of these runners to go through.
So Gemini getting close. Jullo is still kind of hunting for that cane. He's getting close to have to back out, unfortunately. This is probably one of the more painful things you have to see, knowing that Jullo is just kind of spinning his wheels right now, isn't going to find anything necessary right now.
Yeah, I would say that Jullo is a bit behind, given that he did both Tower of Hera and now Mire without being in go mode. So, yeah. Oh, that's a very unfortunate fall. A bit too slow there, going on the bridge inside of Mire. Fell down.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And Gemini gets it, and there's. Wait. Oh, Lamp was in Misery Mire.
What a seed. So going up Death Mountain to pick up that ether medallion inside of Paradox Cave was the flute inside of Swamp, which locked the lamp inside of Mire. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So flute in swamp to get the hook shot in Eastern Palace on Armos Nights to unlock. Wait, wait. Our ticket into Misery Mire was the hook shot.
Oh, so boots are also locked somewhere interesting too.
Boots are out there. Boots might be in that left side of swamp as well.
Yeah. Dang. Now I want to play this seed to know where they are.
The logic, it can be so interesting at this point in time. I mean, those. So by logic, the boots are somewhere. The boots. This was a boots required seed that we managed to dodge the boots requirement.
That's something you don't see every seed. Not much I can tell.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's odd to say the least. Given that Lamp was in Misery Mire, yeah.
And now Jullo finally finds this Samaria, and that's go mode.
Yep, that's go mode for Jillo. And he's perfectly in go mode. Now, chat brings up an interesting point because there is like a 4.3% chance that the Ganon's Tower Big Key is going to be on that torch. Because then boots are absolutely required and there's no sequence breaking around it. Knowing the logic, Jillo has a shot of making a pretty big comeback because Gemini would probably check everything else in Ganon's Tower for those boots. But Jillo knows, if he knows the logic, that boots were your ticket into Misery Mire, so they couldn't be in Ganon's Tower.
Yep, and if that happens, this is where going out of logic kind of messes with your head, because you have to remember what was that required logic, and Gemini skipped both item for required logic right now, which is boots and lamp, so he can't know for sure where it is.
No, absolutely not. This is really interesting. So, which makes me really want the big key to be on lamp right now because I kind of want to see what happens.
Man, that would be probably the worst thing to happen to these runners, of course, but
Yeah. Okay, so there's some confusion in chat. So let me walk you through here. So you can get access to Misery Mire through. I mean, you always have to have the flute. You always have to have the Titan's mitts and your normal Dark World access. But to get into Misery Mire itself, across that first gap, you need either the boots or the hook shot. So the hook shot was locked behind a dark room, which and the lamp was in Misery Mire. So the logic actually required you to dip into Misery Mire to be able to get the lamp in order to go back to Eastern Palace to defeat the Armos Knights to get the hook shot. So using the hook shot to get into Misery Mire was actually a bit of a sequence break because the logic requires you to be able to get in there with the boots first before you have access to where the hookshot was located.
yes, that was very well explained. Good thing you did it. I would have botched my words.
I'm not convinced I haven't botched my words through that.
What was good enough?
It's such an interesting logic. Jello does take a death there from an anti-fairy, and Gemini dodging the bird inadvertently. This absolutely makes me want the boots, the entire seed to be boots locked for us to find the Ganon's Tower big key on 3, because that would make me cackle maniacally.
That would be the ultimate troll from this seed. I mean, it's not unknown for players who completely skip swamp while still well, skip swamp when it's appended, but even worse, skipping left side swamp when they are, you know, looking for items because it's such a slow place to go look. But oh man, there's so many places that Gemini did not go check that it's looking to be awkward, really awkward for him trying to find the logic back at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be super interesting. So Jillo now clears Ice Palace. He does have Misery Mire and Turtle Rock yet to go. Is in go mode, is in legit go mode at this point in time. I mean, sans boots at this point in time, which is kind of the crux of our discussion up to this point.
Man, I just can't believe it. It could make the whole difference of this seed being just kind of trolly to this seed being absolute nightmare for anybody.
I mean, I'm to me, it's already nightmare territory, because having Lamp locked behind this kind of crazy sequence chain is enough to drive me crazy as it is, and also enough to possibly drive me to actually learning those dark rooms.
Yep, that's I really want to say that knowing the dark rooms inside of all of these dungeons is one clear advantage I can give you over tournaments like these. But of course, given the situation we have right now, it could also bring a bit of your downfall. Because if you did this without the dark rooms, you'd still be a bit behind, but you know what you were doing until the end.
In the meantime, Gemini has acquired his 7th crystal. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what that means. We are on our way to the Ganon's Tower Big Key game. We are an ALTTP randomizer, so there's not going to be a bot. But there are 22 treasure chests in Ganon's Tower that could possibly contain the Ganon's Tower Big Key 1 through 22. Get your guesses in chat. I think I've already established that I'm rooting for number 3. Mr. Dynasty Zero, sir, what's going to be your guess?
I really want to say number 3 too, because yeah, you know what? I'm gonna break my rule of saying number 2 and say number 3 for once, because I want to see where those boots are.
Well, we have a very limited number of options where boots can be, and it essentially comes down to left side swamp, and that's it.
Well, we could also go down the rabbit hole of left side swamp having powder or the book and prolonging the seed even longer.
Why do you hate happiness so much, Dynasty? I mean,
I
seriously.
I like long seeds sometimes. It's relaxing. Maybe not in a tournament position, but yeah.
All right, so Jello is actually on his way up Turtle Rock. We'll have to do, mumbling, is on his way up Death Mountain to do Turtle Rock. Excuse me. So we have Gemini entering Ganon's tower. Thank you guys for participating. Gemini is going to start here, kind of in traditional. Check the right side first two chests. We'll see if he continues on the right side, or if he's even able to.
He's a non-believer.
He does get a key, so he will go ahead and decide to go to the full right side.
He absolutely refuses for it to be on the torch. I like it.
I believe. Chat, do you believe? Are you a believer? The power of Rando compels you. Okay, maybe that's like a step too far.
Just a bit. But still,
That's fair.
Still, I can perfectly understand. Oh, look at that. That's something.
Butter sword.
I mean, it ain't silvers, but he'll take it.
Yeah, and nothing here on the left side, so we're gonna see, or right side, so we're gonna see, is it gonna be, oh man, I wish we had a drum roll. I wish we had a drum roll. And it's just a small key.
So close, man. So close. It's the right type of item, at least.
It was the right color, but not what we were looking for.
Size does count in this particular spot.
And I thought I was the one supposed to be making innuendos.
Ha!
You're stealing my shtick, Dynasty.
What can I say? You're rubbing off on me.
Don't tell Baz I'm cheating on him. Okay, so Gemini is now in the fire bar room. I believe this is chest number 12 now by logic.
I stopped counting after 3, so.
No, that is 12. I mean, we gotta still reward the people for guessing. I got to. There it is. It looks like that was chest number 13 that Gemini opened. So he is on his way up. Now, interesting to note, he did not pick up the silvers in Ice Palace, but I don't think he's terribly upset with that right at the moment. So Jello is going through Turtle Rock. He is kind of a full dungeon behind at this point. So this is Gemini's race to lose, I think is a fair thing to say at this point.
Oh, it's definitely fair to say. I would say he can. Jillo can make up a lot of time if he goes on the left side first, which is not a really big gamble, but yeah.
I'm honestly a little bit surprised that Gemini didn't check the left side first, because if it was a boots required seed, then I would want to know that information now, like at ASAP.
Yeah, but I think these guys are betting more on the it can't be there because I don't want it to be there kind of. logic.
Has that ever worked for anyone in the history of Randomizer? I don't want it to be there, so it can't be there.
Well, maybe. I can't say, but
I mean, it works the opposite. No, this can't be a pedestal seed. It's a pedestal seed.
somebody out there has to be lucky enough for that to be the case. But I mean, there's so many people playing that that's not a big gamble to say. Still, Gemini is making good way through the gauntlet here, getting through the Landmo fight.
Yep. Jello working his way through Turtle Rock in the meantime. Gemini with 909 rupees. That just seemed interesting to me for whatever reason.
Gets the nice strat on those whiz robes. Now, this room here is one of the awkward ones when you don't have the boots.
Almost as awkward as our final Hellway is going to be.
Oh, it's gonna be a fun way. That much I can really say. We'll see probably some hookshot action going over there. Either that or cape, as I've seen it a couple of times. And there's the useless medallion. Just besides the other useless item. How about that?
I mean, you might as well have, sure, a useless medallion right there. I wonder if he's still looking for those silvers, which we know where they're at. Not going to be there.
Oh, I'm certainly not judging him for trying to find silvers.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Silverless Ganon is not a... is something I could say probably everybody wants to just not do, since it does take quite a lot more time than doing it with the silvers. Of course, they will, well, at least one of them will have butter and the other one will have temper, which is good enough to fight Silverless Ganon anyway. But Silverless Master Sword is... ugh.
All right, Aga doing all right with the sync so far here. Got some nice double. Only got a single there. Meanwhile, Jillo is on Trinex. So Gemini defeats Aghanim and is on his way to his blue bacon fight, while Jillo does defeat Trinex for a 7th crystal, will be making his way over here to Ganon's Tower shortly.
Yeah, unless Gemini's console or computer explodes or something, he pretty much wins this. It's one of those times where I think there's a bit too much time between the two, but crazier things has happened. Now, these first phases in the Ganon fight are very easy with the butter sword. 6 hits per phase, and you see he's already in the 3rd phase. I completely missed the first one.
Yeah, it's real easy to miss those early phases. Gemini doing a good job of making sure he doesn't take any excess damage. Looks like he's going to try for the lamp glitch or the torch glitch to start off with. Isn't going to try to get a round 1 hit in. Doesn't quite get the torch glitch. Oh, right, because he has to do this silverless. I completely forgot.
Yep. So he had to do this. He had to do the lamp glitch with the fire rod, which is without the man lamp glitch with the fire rod and silverless. This is going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I don't know if he has any safeties either, which is interesting because he's running out of magic pretty quickly.
Pretty sure he collected a blue goo bottle, but that's it.
Oh, and that hit there. All right, so this will be another blue hit. All right, Gemini is going through here. I think he's got just 1 or 2 more hits to go, and he did pick up some blue goo. So you were right.
Yeah, he kind of needed that one because even with half magic, you're limited in time what you can do.
And you see he's trying for triples. Normally, I mean, you can get double safely, and he takes a fall! Oh, the Ganon hug! Gemini has fallen. Jullo is in Ganon's tower.
I really hope Gemini goes get some more magic because, yeah, good decision.
Absolutely. So this is going to be where Jello can absolutely play some catch up if he can get through this relatively quickly. Keep in mind, Jello does have the silvers. They are in. They were in Ice Palace. So if Jello makes some pretty good time, and Gemini makes another mistake, this could actually let Jello catch up here. The hardest part about this is that you can't dash, and I think as speedrunners, we all just kind of like seeing the dash and going fast, and we can't go fast.
Oh yeah, it's agonizing almost going through seas without the boots. You you have to walk everywhere and trying to find different ways of trying to go faster as using a hook shot on everything, but you know, menu speeds and all.
All right, so Jello is working his way up, so we'll see what ends up happening. Gemini will have another chance to get that torch glitch as well. Got the safeties. Oh, I hope for Gemini's sake that because this would be a horrible way to lose at this point. It's still Gemini's to lose though. He's at a good spot right now.
Yeah, Gemini has to make this one count because you can't have any more chances like that. Even we know where his opponent is, but he doesn't, and that's gonna kind of make you worry a bit.
Does get the torch glitch. He was spamming that fire rod. Um, we'll see how long it takes. He's set up very nice right now. Looks like he's actually got a pretty good setup for a triple here, which would be nice. Does get the triple. This is kind of the preferred setup now. Gemini not wasting any time right now. My goodness, that's a night and day difference between the first Ganon fight and the second Ganon fight. And Gemini does get the kill first.
What a seed.
Man, that is just amazing. And Gemini does finish with an official speed racing TV time of 1:44:47. Thank you. Your quest is over. GG, Gemini, and congratulations. Moving on to 5-0, guaranteeing his spot in the 128 bracket.
Man, if he needed a bit more challenge, he, confirm his placement in all those people that are going forward in the tournament in the bracket stage. Well, this one was a good one to test you.
Absolutely. I mean, the logic in this seed is just nuts when you stop and think about it. What was required of these runners to be able to go and get Lamp? That was our Lamp in Swamp Palace was, I guess, our access up to Death Mountain. Although it could have been Lamp as well. The logic in this seed made my head hurt.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And because we do not know where those boots were, it still eludes us what exactly the logic is. Of course, we have a kind of guess where it is, where Left Side Swamp is probably a main contender, but there's always a chance it can be a few more places, I believe. Still, congrats on Gemini for completing this completely bonkers seed.
Absolutely. And joining us now actually is Gemini. GG, sir. Hello?
While we're trying to make Gemini talk, I'm gonna say Jullo just finished Aga 2, and he's going on the Ganon fight right now. So yeah, pretty close race.
Absolutely. He will be on his way to Aga and with the silvers, in fact. So this will be a little bit faster of a Ganon fight here.
And given that he also has the lamp, there's no excuse in not getting the torch glitch too. Other than missing it, of course. Does not have the butter sword, so we're gonna take a couple more hits here in between those phases. But overall, it's still gonna be a pretty easy fight.
Yep. So Jillo is on phase 3 now, getting ready for the final phase.
Oh, what timing!
Great timing there. And doesn't quite get that. Tries to go over to the side. And there's the third hit. And one more. Oh no, and the fall! Oh my goodness. Both Gemini and Julloninja take a fall to Ganon.
It's better than a death, but yeah, it's awkward to fall to Ganon as have to right back up the pyramid, say hi to him again, and he resets, but not you. Kind of unfair.
There we
Yeah.
go. Sorry about
Hey, and we have Gemini joining us. GG.
that. GG.
So the main topic of conversation through this entire run is kind of the interesting logic behind it. With Lamp in Mire and the hook shot locked behind a dark room, it looks like logically we were supposed to have boots to give our access to Mire, but no one found the boots.
I mean, boots could have been anywhere, to be honest. Well, anywhere that wasn't logic, but yeah, sequence breaking up the Death Mountain. This time I kept in mind that either lamp or flute was required to get up there, so that's why I was dipping pendant dungeons and whatnot before I was progressing, because I wanted to find that in case it was flute. And I was prepared to dark room everything, so I wasn't that worried about lamp, but I had to check just in case.
Yeah, that ended up being the play. You never found the lamp. Ninja did. The lamp was in the big treasure chest in Misery Mire itself, so kind of lent itself to some interesting logic if you think about everything that was locked in dark rooms.
Yeah, the seed seemed like a kind of a wacky seed if you were to follow it logically.
Yeah, definitely. As Vitazia just said, we're still not sure where exactly the boots are. So if you're going according to logic, we're not sure exactly what you were supposed to do to complete the seed logically. It's one of those days where breaking logic actually gave you a very good advantage going through this and gave you a 5-0 win in this.
I was going into this planning to play a bit safely, so I was not planning on leaving the logic behind in this one. Looking at my tracker though, there's not that many places the lamp can be. I'm thinking like Spike Cave, maybe, maybe Hera.
Well, it wasn't in Hera.
Sorry, I mean Boots.
Yeah, Hera, Jello did dip. There is one item in the basement that's fire locked that we have no idea where it is. And considering that Fire Rod, I think, was also locked behind a dark room, then I don't think it can be up there.
Yeah, I think Fire Rod and Hookshot were lamp locked in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have Jello, who did finish. Julloninja does complete with an official speed racing TV time of 1:51:44. We're going to pull him in here. GG, Julloninja.
GG.
GG, sir.
Man. GG's, Gemini. I shouldn't have picked such a sleepy hour for me. Bad parts. Ice Palace bomb jump was the worst.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those seeds that if you didn't know dark rooms would kind of yank you around for quite a while, unfortunately.
Thankfully, I knew them, and just finding Lamp in Maya was confusing.
Indeed. Right now, we're kind of talking. The contention point of the sea was what's the logic behind it? Because skipping the lamp for most of it kind of brought you in different direction. And it seems like your way into Mire was using the boots because the hook shot was lamp locked inside of Eastern. So we're still not sure where exactly those boots are. And wow.
But Kane being my go mode in pod just. I felt like I should have dipped it when I went pyramid, but I decided against it. I'd have gotten me the win.
It was a tough sell. I'll give you that.
Yeah, the real trick was kind of the who went to pod first, who did, and I'm trying to think what was our other who went to swamp with that flute, and kind of after that it was just kind of a linear race from that point in time for both of you.
I think it was a kind of like a 50-50 between pod and swamp, to be honest, because it was a matter of just looking for whatever was blocking Death Mountain at that point. And I mean, I can't see one clear reason for picking one over the other. Pod is a bit more accessible, and I guess I was considering just going there alongside EP, just maybe go over there, maybe just mirror over and go straight back into pod afterwards. So I wouldn't blame anyone for going swamp before pod in this case.
I went swamp for pod because I cleared Eastern, didn't want to bother with pod. Which turns out to be a mistake in this case.
Yeah, Eastern unlocked a lot of things, but to me, I basically was just ignoring every item that was still out of logic. So that's why I kept going for pendants.
Did the opposite. The only pendant I kept going around in circles and dipped pendants almost last, except Tower Hera was complete garbage.
Yeah, I skipped Tower Hera because I was up there on a sequence break, so I wasn't convinced about dipping a 1, and I didn't have a fire source either, so it would have been 0 to 2 items.
I did the same, but I full cleared it except the basement.
Yeah, I was saving it for later. Like once Death Mountain is in logic and I'm missing items still, probably then.
Same, but I felt Moldom might help me out here.
He never helps you out. He just pushes you off the edge.
So Gemini, I gotta ask you because you're going through here. You know, I'm sure you're kind of getting the end of a seed adrenaline going a little bit, and you fall to Ganon. What's going through your mind right then?
Should have practiced Fire Rod.
How many times you can say that happens, that you're at Ganon without a lamp?
It's happened to me once before in V29 when V29 first came out. I went to Ganon without a lamp and without a Master Sword. So I had to go find a Master Sword, went to Ganon, and I missed my torch glitch with Fire Rod. And after that, I just kind of swore to learn it. Got it next try, thought, it's fine, I got it now. And I thought back to that moment when I went to Ganon this time. I was like, it's like that time. Surely I'm not going to miss again. And then I missed again.
Yeah, hopefully you did have half magic, but it wasn't quite enough as Ganon decided to just gently push you off.
Yeah, it's not one of those things I practiced a lot. At that point, obviously, I was a bit flustered, thinking my opponent might have found the silvers. They were in Ice Palace, apparently. And if they have the silvers, they might be... They're going to have a lot of... They're going to do Ganon a lot quicker. So I'm going to have to do like slow Ganon once again. And have to go buy another potion just in case I miss it again. It's like... But, I mean, all you can do at that point is to just kind of just pretend it never happened, right?
Exactly. Go forward with only a positive mind and thinking you still got this. And likewise, you did get through this. So GG.
I just hate bootless seeds.
I do
we
as
all?
well.
You know what? I think anyone who likes bootless seeds doesn't belong to be in the speedrunning community. That's just me. I just might be saying that. We like to go fast.
As long as you like the bow, I'm all okay with it.
Oh, well, thank you once again, Gemini and Julloninja. Do you guys have any kind of last minute comments before we try to wrap things up here?
Nah, just GG. And I think I'm just going to go try and find those boots now.
All right. Well, GG once again to Gemini and Julloninja. If you liked what you saw from these runners, go ahead and give him a follow here on Twitch. We still have lots of randomizer action going on tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern. So in just under an hour over here on Speed Gaming 3, we'll have Clifford versus Fat Home 666. I'm going to be on that one. So come join me over there on Speed Gaming 3. Also at 7 o'clock Eastern, We have Edgeworth versus T-Stu 14, and that's at ALTTP Randomizer 3. At 8 o'clock Eastern, we have a whole slate of races that we're going to be doing. Elminster RTA versus Jet 082 on ALTTP Randomizer 1. That's a 4-0 match. Also at 8 o'clock on ALTTP Randomizer 2, we have Andy versus Prior 57. That's going to be just an amazing matchup right there. Also at 9 o'clock, looks like we got Zyrak versus Hippo on Speed Gaming 3. Lots of randomizer action still going on tonight. Still things yet to be scheduled tonight on Speed Gaming 4, 9, 10, 11, midnight. If you like randomizers, stay tuned into Speed Gaming 1 through 6 and ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 4. We're going to be going all day long here.
Indeed. So, like Vitazia said, don't forget to leave follows for all these wonderful people in here. I'm Dynasty Zero. This was one race I just love to commentate. Could have been a bit longer, but hey, that was good enough.
Absolutely. And I'm Vitasia, and we'll see you guys at the next race today. See you around.